you might just think I'm wrong about this, which you can definitely just say, but I kind of think the public projection systems are under projecting the plate appearances for a few of the very best catchers like Cal Raleigh, William Contreras, Shea Langoliers, Hunter Goodman, and Sal Perez were the 5 that kind of came to mind for me. And it's not by, I don't think they're being underprojected by a lot, but I think in some cases, like I might even add like 40, 50, 60 plate appearances to some of the projections for these guys, which it might not seem like that much, but it could really kind of lead to them being undervalued in the market if you did add those plate appearances. And I was just curious if you thought I was on anything with any of those 5, or if you think I'm just wrong about this.
I was looking through. I thought maybe like the projections are just a little bit harsh on catchers. But this is not like a super thorough examination. But I just compared like the numbers that I have for plate appearances to what they did last year, and it wasn't any lower than on average for catchers than hitters in general. So it doesn't seem like it's that. I don't know. I don't see like huge under projections. It depends on the system. Like as I'm clicking through now, like I see like I was going to mention like depth charts on Fangraphs, like only has Cal Raleigh for like 11 more than Sal, and I think like he'll separate more than that, right? He's the one who stood out. But then I looked at like ATC, and it's a little bit more like what I would expect, where like Cal Raleigh's for 631, Contreras 608. I imagine there is just a bit of a reluctance on these systems to like give any catcher much more than 600. So I guess that does create some opportunities, but it doesn't, I don't know, seem glaring to me. So like maybe like explain like why you think so. Do you just see more DH?
Well, I guess like, so I think like I might just be overrating these guys' ability to stay healthy. Like I think the projection systems are baking in like the risk that if you're a catcher and you're playing that much, like you're more likely to break down. Yeah. So like I definitely that would be where I'm off, is just like not just kind of baking in enough risk that they're gonna miss time. But I do think if like these guys stay, about as healthy as they were last year, I think all the guys I listed will play more than they're projected for. It's just a question of, do they get hurt? Obviously, like Langoliers missed like 3-4 weeks last year with an injury, and he's basically projected to miss that much time again this year, one way or another. But if he doesn't suffer an injury, I think he blows past his projection, and so it's basically just kind of how much do you want to bet on these guys staying healthy or not. But I do think like I think Hunter Goodman's going to play almost every day. I think William Contreras is going to play almost every day. I think Cal Raleigh's going to play almost every day. Same with Sal. So I definitely see a path to all those guys exceeding their playing time projections, but the health is kind of the wild card there.
It makes like the kind of situation I like, where it's like so just on the projections, I generally have catchers at a pretty good value, right? That you don't have to like bump it up, but you can view it as like upside from there. So I'd say that's exactly the kind of situation where it's like I don't need this kind of whatever 75th% outcome or whatever to happen to have a value, but like it's there, it's within the realm of possibilities. I think that's the kind of like investment it's good to make.
Have you noticed? Like I've noticed that Hunter Goodman just seems to be like one of the most undervalued players in drafts, like relative to just project. Like pretty much every projection system has him as like the second catcher, or at least like right there with like Contreras and Langoliers. But he consistently goes, 5th or 6th, and sometimes like a couple rounds after those.
Yeah, I agree. He's a huge value by my numbers. I think him and Sal are the two that kind of stand out, like relative to cost.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I want to ask you, Steve, about second base and third base. It seems, at least to me, like shortstop and first base are pretty straightforward. Like you'd really have to mess something up to not get at least one good shortstop and one good first baseman. But I think second base and third base are just a bit more odd. There are a couple of lead options at the top, and then there's a steep drop off, and it almost reminds me of the way catcher used to be. But my question for you is, in terms of how you're approaching second base and third base, who is your worst starting second baseman and your worst starting third baseman so far through all your completed drafts? And then do you find that going cheap at either position is palatable now that you've done 11 plus drafts?
Yeah. So looking through, I think like the worst second baseman that I have is like a starter is probably Gleyber Torres. And then on third base, I have a DC where it was like Shaw and Durbin. So I guess now it's Durbin. Another where Paredes was the first one. So neither of those situations is looking ideal at this point. And like for that reason, I guess, like I think it's totally fine waiting on second base. I think there's like a lot of pockets of potential values, and you don't have to panic at any point. There's like a nice range with like Stoughton and Albies. And if you miss that, then there's like the Semien, like Polanco, Gleyber Torres. Like there's kind of options throughout the draft for second base. You can kind of get it at any point. Third base is a little bit dicier to me. I don't like any ranges really. So it's just a matter of like deciding where it fits in the overall kind of plan and where it's least painful or at least in terms of the opportunity cost. But yeah, I'd say much more comfortable waiting on second base than third base.
Right. Yeah. So like it's there's more of like a panic at third base of just like, oh crap, like I don't like what I've got here. And then with second base, you don't mind if you're just getting, say, like the 9th best production at second base in your league throughout the year.
I don't mind if I'm getting the 12th best production, probably.
Well, I'm sure you could get the 12th best second baseman, and I feel like you could still manage your way into 9th best second base production.
Yeah, I'm actually like, I don't know if these are good measures, but like I've got something that's like trying to approximate like the cliff, and it's just not that steep at second base, right? So like it's pretty smooth drop off right throughout. Whereas like actually shortstop is where there's like the biggest one, but like you said, you should be on before that cliff. And third base is kind of that danger area where there's not a ton of good options and there's a pretty big drop off. So it just requires a little bit more attention, I think.
So it's second base, it's just you're never gonna not have a viable option, but it is just kind of, it's weird when there's like 20 options that are all like about the same. And like obviously it limits your upside in a league if you're only the 10th best in one like position. I mean, do you think like the like Ketel Marte, Jazz Chisholm guys, are they being appropriately priced, or are they being overdrafted just because of that drop?
I think Jazz is a tough call. Like he's got the potential to separate like from the rest of the position. Marte, I don't really like the price on. I think maybe part of it is like a scarcity worry. Like he is obviously like one of the best, but the difference from him to like your replacement level, wherever exactly that is, I don't think justifies like the early pick. There's more important things to do with that